Good morning, televiewers, and welcome to this other edition of The Brief, live on My Media Prime Television. On today's edition of the program, we are revisiting the recent outing of Dr. Christopher Fominyi on his Twitter account, telling the world that the Bias regime cannot solve the Anglophone crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Dr. Christopher Fominyi, who was appointed by President Paul Biya to head the Reconstruction Committee during the Major National Dialogue, an appointment which he turned down, citing the Major National Dialogue not being inclusive. We shall be telling you more on his recent outing and many other headlines, especially the disappearance of the Sultan and the ruler of the Bamun people in the west region of Cameroon. Etape Quentin is here with us as usual. Let's find out what he gathered for us in the papers today. Bonjour, Etape.
Bonjour, Lasha Kinsili. Un important stock de munitions saisi dans le sac de riz dans un bus de voyage dans une route nationale fait l'actualité unes des journaux présents en kiosque ce matin. Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour et bienvenue dans cette grande revue de presse de votre émission débrief de tous les matins, édition bien sûr de ce mercredi 30 septembre 2021. Commençons très rapidement avec le quotidien Éco-Santé qui s'intéresse justement à l'insécurité et titre à sa grande une: décès d'un jeune survenu à l'hôpital central de Yaoundé lundi passé, une autopsie à faire pour déterminer la lumière autour de l'incident. En tout cas, c'est ce que nous propose le journal en sa grande une supérieure. Si l'on s'en tient à ce tabloïd, le directeur de l'hôpital central de Yaoundé, professeur Pierre-Joseph Fouda, en collaboration avec les autorités sanitaires, a fait sceller le corps du défunt par le procureur pour mettre fin aux différentes accusations et soupçons autour de la façon dont ce jeune homme est mort. Les résultats de l'autopsie permettront bien sûr de déterminer la vérité sur cette affaire qui secoue le personnel de cette formation hospitalière. Un dossier à retrouver dans les colonnes de la page 3 de cette livraison en kiosque ce matin. Poursuivons en sécurité avec le journal L'Info à chaud. Activité terroriste, des munitions saisies dans les sacs de riz transportés par un bus de voyage à venir du Noun. C'est d'ailleurs l'info à la grande une du journal. Ce n'est pas la première fois que l'on assiste à ce genre de saisie dans un bus d'un voyage d'une agence de voyage. Il y a de cela 2 ans, les agents de la douane camerounaise avaient fait la découverte d'un stock de munitions dans la route d'un bus, dans la soute d'un bus appartenant à Général Voyage dans la nuit du 2 au 3 septembre 2019. Ces faits arrivent exactement dans un contexte où les terroristes de la crise anglophone et ceux de Boko Haram mènent leurs exactions auprès des populations. D'où viennent ces munitions? Pourquoi sont-elles cachées dans les sacs de voyage? En tout cas, vous verrez certainement des pistes de réponse dans ce tabloïd présent en kiosque ce matin. Parlons à présent politique avec le quotidien, le journal La République qui affiche naturellement à sa grande une renouvellement des organes de base du parti au pouvoir. Quelle image pour le RDPC à Zo et Télé, Ndja et Lobo, et dans le sud plus loin. Dans les explications de ce numéro en kiosque ce matin, l'on constate que l'opération de renouvellement des bureaux de base du parti du président Paul Biya dans son département natal a connu une effervescence particulière. Des tensions ont été observées dans la section RDPC Ndja et Lobo 2 à Zo et Télé, où le candidat Aristide Bomba, par ailleurs maire de la ville, a recruté des mercenaires pour bourrer les unes. Malheureusement, ces derniers ont été pris en flagrant délit de fraude et mis aux arrêts. En tout cas, à découvrir dans ce journal en kiosque ce matin. Et puis, chutons maintenant avec le journal Essengang qui propose en sa grande une SGPR, un garçon de course au pouvoir étendu. Le journal de Marie-Robert Ilundu nous fait comprendre que le président de la République tient le gouvernail par son secrétaire général Ferdinand Ngong et à travers lui, c'est ce que justifie d'ailleurs ces nombreuses autres instructions, celles-ci font de l'ombre à certains et excitent les convoitises chez d'autres qui sont ambitieux à l'heure des guerres de positionnement. En tout cas, pour plus de détails sur ce sujet, je vous invite à comprendre les revers de la posture institutionnelle de l'actuel occupant de cette haute fonction de secrétaire général à la présidence de la République dans les colonnes de la page 3 de ce journal en kiosque ce matin. Voilà la substance de la presse en langue française. Place actuellement à la lecture de ces-unes des autres tabloïds en anglais avec toi, Lasha. Good morning once more again.
Good morning, Etape, Quentin. Good morning to you out there, televiewers, for staying. Thanks so much for staying with us. Let's kickstart with the Scoop newspaper. The Scoop newspaper this morning is focusing on the death of the Paone government delegate to the Kumba City Council. And this time around, the paper says, nation in shock as political baobab Victor Ngong dies. The man who demystified government delegate post with unmatched humility. Ngong, a man of the people, unraveled philanthropist. More details only in this edition of the Scoop newspaper, which is also focusing on his humble beginning, journey into politics, and equally his political advisory in Meme division of the Southwest region. According to the paper, the heavy political shoes he have left behind. You find out about the heavy political shoes that he has or left behind, and equally he was a peacemaker with rare qualities of a public servant, and equally pioneer Anglophone German trained cooperative economist who transformed lives of thousands of farmers in the southwest region of the country. And equally the disappearance of Sultan Ibrahim Bombonjoya is equally a major headlines in the Scoop newspaper this morning. Sultan Ibrahim Bombonjoya, the ruler of the Bamon people, who reportedly disappeared at the American hospital in Paris recently at the age of 84. More details about the life and political and traditional career of the Sultan of Bamun only in this edition of the Scoop newspaper. The Guardian posted this morning is bringing to us the explosive outing of Christopher Formignon on his Twitter account concerning the armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Dr. Formignon strikes Biya regime, says government that declares war on citizens won't easily engage in a peaceful talk. He equally urges U.S. government to lead other world powers to end the senseless war in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon, and warns Biden administration against turning blind eye on Anglophone crisis like Clinton administration did during Rwanda genocide. You can get more details about the outing of Christopher Formignon that was recently only in this edition of the Guardian Post newspaper, talking about Christopher Formignon, who is the regional director for Central Africa programs at the National Democratic Institute, NDI, in Washington, D.C. Should be recalled that during the major national dialogue, Christopher Formignon was named by the President of the Republic to head the Reconstruction Commission, a post he turned down during the major national dialogue, which held in September, from September 30th to October 4, 2019 in Yaoundé. Let's talk about the irate villagers in Bia's region of origin who say they are living in hell. They barricaded the roads to protest worsening living conditions, talking about no electricity and poor roads infrastructure, as well as potable water in those areas or that part of the country. The protesters, they were on the streets calling on the attention of the Bias regime to see into their worries. On to this other newspaper, Le Gideon is interested in the outing of the U.S. President Joe Biden. At first, UN addressed Biden sidelines Anglophone crisis, promotes homosexuality homosexuality in Cameroon. Joe Biden lambasted the government of Cameroon for trying to make Cameroon a hell for those who want to practice homosexuality. He called on the government to leave those with those tendencies to practice or to live freely in Cameroon. It should be recalled that the law of Cameroon as at now but the practice of homosexuality in the country. At least government concedes escalation of Anglophone conflict, writes the L'Ogidion newspaper. We leave L'Ogidion newspaper this morning. We are with the entrepreneur of Swaibo Tria, which is bringing to us a homage by Baero Fadil concerning the disappearance of the Sultan and ruler of the Bamon people in the west region of the country. You can read the homage of Baero Fadil only in this edition of the Entrepreneur newspaper of Swaibo Tria. Let's come back to the studio, televiewers, to continue digging several layers beneath some of the major headlines Etape contain.
De nous retrouver sur ce plateau et nous recevons notre confrère, notre consoeur autant pour moi. Joyce, bonjour.
Bonjour.
Tout de suite, on va analyser l'actualité. Commençons justement par cet incident survenu à l'hôpital central de Yaoundé. Un jeune garçon qui était décédé suite à voilà, un couteau qui a été mis dans son ventre et arrivé là, il est décédé. Et puis lorsque sa famille vient chercher le corps à la morgue, sa famille constate que le corps a été mutilé et puis on ne comprend plus rien, il n'y a pas certaines parties du corps. Voilà, il y a eu des échauffourées. Comment comprenez-vous cela?
I think first of all, there's something in this case, there's a kind of misunderstanding between that family, the family of that 22-year-old boy, and then the hospital authorities. Because I think a few days after the family caused, the family protested in front of the hospital, there was an outing by the director of that hospital saying that the boy was operated upon. And then I asked myself, was the boy operated upon without the knowledge of the family? Because if the boy was eventually operated upon in the hospital, the family had to be aware of that operation, because these these are hospitals that they don't even work on patients if you have not paid. So how was the boy operated upon without the family being paid? And then the outing as well of the Minister of Health, who left out the fact that the family was protesting against the cuts that were found on the boy's body, and rather address the violence that was caused by the boy's family, is also curious. We ask ourselves, what exactly what exactly is happening? Because if the hospital authorities, like I said, if they actually performed legal operations on this boy, it would have been with the knowledge of the family, and it would have been in accordance.
And of course the boy died.
The boy died,
which is
exactly, and the cost of his death as well.
You have to
yes.
sign.
The family had to authorize the operation. So the authorities, the hospital authorities, and the health boss, who equally sidelined this the family's complaints and rather focused on the violations. I think that the minister, on his part, what he has to do, or what he had to do, was go to the hospital and try to find out what exactly happened to this boy. Yes, because the images of the boys
est lancé pour déterminer, n'est-ce pas, la vérité sur cette affaire.
Yes.
This is not the first case. Many years ago, we had the disappearance of a baby in a certain hospital still in Yaoundé. And up to today, that baby has not been found.
And there's not the public
and the baby is alive.
Yes.
And we hear some high-profile personalities were involved, even a magistrate and whatever, they were involved in the theft of the baby. Up to today, nobody is saying anything concerning the baby.
Nobody is telling people anything.
I don't know what is happening.
And it is not only in Yaoundé. It is not only in the central hospital. It happens in so many hospitals. A popular hospital as well, the Quentin hospital, that has so many cases of this negligence to patients, and negligence as well to patients' families. There are so many hospitals, and I think that the Ministry of Health has to really take this into consideration. If not, in the long run, people will even be afraid of going to the hospitals.
Does it mean that the hospital directors, they are not always aware of these things? does it mean that the staff or the paramedics and other staff working at the hospital, they do this thing without the knowledge of their director? How do they, succeed?
With the outing of the director of the Yaoundé Regional Hospital, I want to say that he is aware, because such things can't go on in your hospital and then you're quick to put out a notice, a communique out there without finding out what is happening. If he was quick to put out that communique, it means he was fully aware of anything that happened. If it is true that the boy was operated upon, he was aware. And if the boy wasn't operated upon, he is aware. If not, before putting out that communique, he had to carry out investigation. Of course, he's the director of the hospital, and although he's not always there to supervise the day-to-day activity of the hospital, but I think that reports are being rendered to him at the end of the day or at the end of the week, on Fridays or Sundays maybe. The hospital authorities or the people in charge of the different departments of the hospital submit reports to the director, which means that directly or indirectly he's aware of everything that goes on in the hospital. Before putting out that report, he has to be sure exactly of what happened. They shouldn't put out a report and blame one party without the explanation, without receipts. Putting out that press release, I think that if there were receipts of that boy's operation, he would have put that out as well, so that the public is aware that this boy was actually operated upon. But putting out just vague releases and then pushing the blame on the boy's family for reacting the way they did without receipts, I think it creates doubt in the minds of the people.
Yes, Joe Ngong. Dr. Christopher Fominyu, the Regional Director for the National Democratic Institute, an institution based in the United States of America, says a regime like that of President Paul Biya, which openly declare war, cannot call for a peace talks. What do you have to say to these utterances of the politician?
Well, for somebody of his standard, for somebody of his class to say that, somebody who was in charge of the reconstruction after the major national dialogue, for him to say that, it means that he actually knows what he's saying. He
refused coming.
Exactly. Appointed him
he said the dialogue will not be inclusive, that
and it wasn't.
It's a monologue, it's not a dialogue, so he can't take part in such a gathering.
And to an extent, Dr. Fominyu is right, because you can't declare war on
as a Cameroonian in ensuring that peace, with his
profile, individually,
with his connects with the international community and the post, we all know
exactly. We might not know what he's doing
he has not been
in the
able
background.
To cause the international community.
We might not know the efforts he's putting in the background. Maybe we hope that in future these efforts are going to come to the limelight. But already, I think his declarations have their place, because the government you cannot declare war on a people and then you want peace. You want peace with the same people with whom you declared war. I think that even if they want peace, they have to, like I always say, they have to put these people on the ground. The discussions have to be between the two people. As for the doctor, I believe that he is already doing what he can in the international scene, which in the nearest future we hope that it is going to come out in the limelight. But
when he says U.S. government should lead other world powers to end senseless war in Cameroon, does it mean that the U.S. and the international community, they are not seeing what is happening in the Northwest?
Just from the UN address, the president of the US,
Biden did not even think about it.
Exactly, he has completely sidelined the Anglophone crisis, and then he's rather putting forth homosexuality problems in Cameroon, actually completely ignoring the Anglophone crisis, one of the problems that Cameroon is facing right now that can destroy this country.
Is it not hypocrisy? Does it mean that the U.S. or Biden administration is not seeing what is happening in the Northwest?
I don't want to think so.
He's harboring some of the guys who
exactly in his country, and America being such a developed country, nothing goes on in that country without the president knowing. So going to the United Nations to sideline the major problem in the country and rather putting forth the minimum problem, the problem that the people are not even facing, because I don't think we have a homosexuality problem in our country. What we have in this country, we have.
So we shouldn't even be talking about that.
Exactly, we shouldn't. So putting out that one and ignoring the Anglophone crisis, I think that our leaders should seek these people. Our leaders should urge these international leaders, these presidents of great countries, to look into
the Minister of External Relations, representing President Paul Biya, who delivered his own keynote address, citing all the achievements or the things that the government have been doing or has been doing to bring back peace? Does it not water down everything that probably Christopher Forminio wants the international community to do?
Exactly. And when our leaders as well, some of our leaders go to the international community and they try to paint the country so peaceful, they go to the international community and they act like everything is going on well. It doesn't make sense. We cannot go to a place where you have to table our problems and you seek for the help of these international organizations and you paint it to them that everything is under control. I think that's one of the problems that we are facing. We have to come to reality. We have to make these people know that there is a problem in Cameroon. If the problem is more than us, we should seek their help. We should not go to the United Nations General Assembly and try to put it to them that everything is under control.
What
the
should Cameroonians,
Cameroon,
I'm coming to you, what should Cameroonians of such, political and professional careers, diplomats like Christopher Forminio, do to bring back peace? Or cause the international community to bring back peace?
I think continuing like this to outrightly or to publicly urge them, I think that it is going to help. We have seen it has happened like this in so many places, to continue using their voices and their power in public to continue
but apparently they are doing it on one side. Why is it that they are not also talking about the separatists or probably denouncing some of the atrocities being committed by separatists? We hear them when they come out, they only say, oh, they talk and only lambast the government, and they don't equally talk about the separatists.
You know, it is easier to call for peace or to call for dialogue with an organized system. You know, the separatists, first of all, that part of the fight, they are not organized. So even if they want to call for the separatists, I don't think that it is easier to call for the separatists. It is not in their place to call for the separatists.
No, but they can act like a mediator,
the government.
Mediator.
Well,
somebody like Christopher Forminio can meet probably Ayabacho Lucas, can meet Samuel Sako and other guys who are the ringleaders.
If they can use their power, Cameroonian international politicians and diplomats, if they can use their power to meet these people, it will be a very good step for peace in Cameroon if they can use their power. But with that notwithstanding, I think they have to continue urging the international community. The international organizations can easily mediate.
But many Cameroonians are of the opinion that the international community has never succeeded in bringing peace in any part of the world. Probably they might be wrong in what they are saying.
I don't want to say that they have never succeeded, but I want to say they have helped so many countries
in Mali,
in the struggle.
in other countries.
Yes, they have helped. They have done a lot. Maybe they might not have gone as far as people expected, but let's try to imagine the situation if they did not intervene. How would the situation have been like?
They themselves should be the one to sort out their issues, to sort out their problems.
But we are not, our leaders are not doing it. So what do? We have to seek for help. We can't do this on our own, and it is obvious that we cannot do this on our own. We need a mediator, we need a neutral party to sit us down and try to look for a lasting solution. We cannot do this on our own.
Donc l'actualité, c'est aussi avec cette saisie d'un stock très important de munitions dans les sacs de riz, dans un bus de l'agence de voyage. Voilà à quoi peut-on s'attendre lorsque l'on observe cette situation.
Well, I have a problem with travel agencies not checking luggages. Yes, I have a very serious problem with this. Firstly, because when you go to a travel agency, they are quick to ask you to pay for your luggage to be put into in the bus, but they don't check what could the content of your luggage. So I wonder,
is it the responsibility of the travel agency or those of the security officers?
It works both ways. It works both ways.
How did the bag even get to the agency? That's a question.
How did it even get to the agency? And it is already at the agency. Yes. The agency is the
at the agency. You have what they call in quote Bambe, the main guys who are there.
I think the agency is working as well with the ministries to ensure that people who are traveling have valid documents.
Experts.
So I think they can equally work with the Ministry of Defense or the Force of Law and Order to ensure that people don't travel with illegal stuff. If they can work to ensure that people are traveling with their legal documents, because I think before buying a ticket at an agency, you must have a valid national ID card. So if they are already working with that ministry for that purpose, they should equally work with the ministry to check these luggages. And if it gets to how many of these bags are even
and
checked
even, on the
roads?
highways when
How
those
many-
vehicles
how
come
many
there,
of
nobody
vehicles?
even has the time to open the
How
books
many
and
of
check.
these bags? It can easily be checked at the travel agencies, or maybe the forces of law and order can deploy some forces to travel agencies to make sure that these
But
bags
there
are being
are
checked.
checkpoints now. We have checkpoints.
How many buses
Mais
are being checked
la
on the
question
checkpoint?
qui se pose aujourd'hui-
How many bags? Imagine going down on a checkpoint and then they are bringing every bag down to check one after the other. You spend days on the road to travel. So I think that these bags have to be checked from the point of departure. Although they are also checking on the road, which is very okay if they can check all the buses, because they are already not doing that. They're
La
checking
question
like
qui se
one out of
pose,
the- out
la
of
question,
10.
la question qui se pose aujourd'hui, c'est que où vont ces munitions? C'est pour aller chasser les animaux en brousse ou c'est pour aller...
we cannot tell. You cannot tell
Etape,
where a
you shouldn't
criminal
ask
is
that
taking
kind of
his
question.
weapons to. We cannot tell. We are not criminals, so we can't tell
Mais
where a
pourquoi
criminal is
cacher
taking.
les munitions dans les
Because this
sables?
is
It is
illegal. Of
obvious.
course
It is
illegal.
obvious. You
Etape.
can't travel with weapons in broad daylight. You can't expose it. That's how criminals do. You can't expect them to. Of course, they will hide it. That's why our forces of law and order come in to make sure that they fish out these bad eggs that are in our society.
Okay, thank you so much, Joy Ngong, for coming. Thank you to televiewers for taking out time to watch this edition of the program. Hopefully, we'll be with you together tomorrow for yet another edition of what the papers must have gathered for us. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.